WVTC Radio Detroit. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, X, and our website, www.wvtcdetroit.com, or download our WVTC app from the Play Store for Android users and the App Store for iPhone users. Thank you for tuning to WVTC Radio Detroit and the Community Bell Show with your host, former Wayne County Commissioner, Edna Bell. Stay tuned for insightful information Detroiters will find valuable. Text a friend and tell them to watch with you for news you can use. And now, your host, Edna Bell.
Hello. It is Monday at 4 o'clock, so it must be the Community Bell Show. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us. We're always happy to have all of you with us at 4 o'clock on Mondays. Beginning of Black History Month. Well, for us, Black History is every day, all year, every year. But for some, they celebrate it once a year rather. We just celebrate it all the time. But I have some special things for you today to kick Black History Month off. And we'll have something special for you every Monday in February. But what I have for you today is very personal. If any of you read the Detroit News, not the news, the Free Press, you will see an article that came out in the papers on yesterday, the Detroit Free Press, by a young man by the name of Scott Talley, wonderful young writer. And the article is about my brother, Ted Talbert. And so I have props today have a picture of the article, and it is indeed a full page article. And it talks about Ted and many of the things that he's done. And I'm going to talk about a few of them today, but I'll have more next week. But if you read that article, you will see that he was very special, very creative, had a different kind of mind, which is special. But he was just a really talented young man when it comes to writing and coming up with thoughts and ideas about things that you would never think of. One of the famous ones is something called the Joe Louis Video Memorial Room. It was located in the old Coble Hall, which is now Huntington Place. The room was given to him by Coleman Young, so he used that room until 2012, when the last program he did was held. But Coleman told him, use it as long as you want it. So it was called the Joe Louis Video Memorial Room. And in that room, you could always see a copy of his Emmy Award winning and Still the Champ video play, along with much of the items that belonged to Joe Louis, the scales that Joe Louis weighed in on, trunks, a glove, just all sorts of Joe Louis paraphernalia were in that room that young people could come and view. They could view the video. They could hear him talk about Joe Louis and the fights, the one particular fight, the one between he and Max Smelling. So many of those things you would have seen in the Joe Louis Video Memorial Room. Once Ted passed in 2013, he asked that those items be given to the Walter Reuther Library of Urban Affairs at Wayne State University. And so that's where those items are housed to this day. And we are just so excited to know that they are in a place where they will be taken care of for years and years and years to come. One of the big things he did, and he started with something called the Brown Bomber Jacket. The Brown Bomber Jacket was given to every mayor since Coleman Young, but it was also given to other prominent figures in the community that Ted and his board decided probably deserved a Brown Bomber Jacket. And I have here a Brown Bomber Jacket. Brown Bomber Jacket that I received in 2005. So this is my own Brown Bomber Jacket. I was gifted it in 2005 as one of the recipients of the Brown Bomber Award. And so I'm just excited to be able to share that with you. I'll share more stuff on some later shows, but just wanted to share that because I got some more stuff that you're going to laugh at. But the Brown Bomber Jacket and the article are the things that I want you to think about today. Now, our next guest, Maurice Morton. Hi, Maurice. Welcome.
Hi, how are you, Mother Bell? How's it going?
Great. How are you today?
I'm doing fine, thank you. Glad to be back on your show.
Absolutely. I just finished talking about Ted Talbert and the Brown Bomber Jacket and the article that was in the Free Press yesterday. Thank you for your comments about the article. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, I remember, back when I used to work for you and
That was a long
I remember your brother and long time ago. But no, he was definitely well regarded and renowned in this particular area and nationally as well. But he's done some great things. So congratulations to you all and the family.
Thank you. Really appreciate that. Really appreciate that. And then the second thing, condolences to you and your family for the tragedy that fixed in your family over the last month or so. Talk about that and what you are proposing to happen.
Yeah, when you and I last spoke on this show, she was just missing still, right? And we were hopeful of finding her. Unfortunately, we did learn later that she had been murdered by her ex-boyfriend. And, after an exhaustive 7-day search for her remains, they were unsuccessful. But they did collect quite a bit of evidence in the case. And so this past week, the young man was charged with murder out of Roseville, so in Macomb County. And so the family's very pleased with that. Though, that will not bring closure. It starts our journey to justice. And so we're pleased with that. One of the initiatives, though, that have come from this, just from learning, and then, as a former prosecutor, I would see it from one end, but seeing it from this side, you really get an appreciation of what, law enforcement does well and not so well, right? And
Yes.
one of those things being, unfortunately, when it comes to our Black and brown women, we don't always get a fast response, right? The media don't always jump on it immediately. Police don't always react immediately. It's always this feeling that, hey, they're probably out there voluntarily, they're okay, they're probably partying. Even though in this case, we're dealing with a 30-year-old mother of two, a 10-year-old and 7-year-old boys. And her mom had a feeling that something bad had happened. So what we're saying is just like there's an Amber Alert when a child goes missing, we're calling it Ashley. There should be an Ashley Alert, specifically when women go missing and there's reason to believe that either is due to sex trafficking or that some harm may possibly come to them at the hands of an ex-boyfriend, a husband, or whoever, that there should be an alert that goes out through the media, through our phones and the community, so that we can immediately, hopefully save lives.
And that certainly would make sense. And clearly, we know that they've got rules that determine when they declare someone missing. But when the family and when people close to that person are telling you that this is not that kind of situation, this is not that kind of person, let me tell you that something is wrong here. They need to listen to that and follow suit with that and follow all other protocols that say we need to go look for this person right away instead of waiting, 24, 48 hours or something of that nature that they usually do.
Right. And in this case, they found her vehicle 5 or 6 days later, and the person is sat in front of this person's home. They said that vehicle had sat there for 5 or 6 days. They didn't know whose car it was. Well, if there was an Ashley Alert and this person had seen it, they would have recognized the vehicle and would have called the authorities right away. Also, as I indicated before, the police were unable to locate her body or remains because it appears she may have been placed in a dumpster, which was dumped on that Saturday. She went missing on that Thursday. If there was an Ashley Alert, maybe police could have gotten to that dumpster sooner. It wasn't until that following Tuesday that they did the search warrant. So, we're saying that an Ashley Alert for missing people can only help and aid in investigations, and hopefully, not just help preserve evidence, but hopefully save lives as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. How has that been received? Who have you presented that to so far?
We just talked about it. It's really been something new that we just started talking to with the media. We have not approached any legislators about sponsoring this legislation. Maybe that's something you can help us with. I know you know quite a few folks, and maybe there's some local legislators who will be willing to attach their names to something like this. And then, we'll present it to the state. And hopefully this would be something that the state of Michigan will want to do.
Well, I'll certainly help you with it. We need to talk about that and talk about how it can be helpful, how the station can be helpful to continue to publicize that. We go out to a lot of people around the country. Actually, we go outside of the country. We can be seen all over the world. And so it's important that we share it with everybody we possibly can. And so we'll get in touch with you and see if we can start working on that.
Sounds great. Sounds excellent.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. I just wanted you to be able to come on and start talking about it, start the conversation, let people know it's important that when someone close to that person says, no, that's not like her. She didn't just walk away from her children. She wouldn't have done that.
Right.
To start looking early as opposed to
Right.
whatever that 24, 48-hour window is they usually use. We'll keep working on it.
Right. And that's what we're trying to get changed. Thank you
Okay.
so much. I really appreciate it. And thank you for having me back on your show.
Whenever you need us. Take care. All righty, dear. Take
All
care.
right. Thank you. Bye now.
When we first heard about Ashley, Maurice had sent out some information and I contacted him and said, how can we help? And we were the first media outlet to even talk to them, to ask them if they needed help. And he's always been appreciative of that. But it would seem to me, again, as he said, people need to listen to the people that are closest to the person who's missing. They can tell you if that person is a party person just out there and they've done this before, so no big deal. Or they will tell you this person would never do that. This is not like them. And so you need to take it seriously and go look for them right now as opposed to waiting. So we'll keep following up. We'll let you know how it goes, and we'll continue to work on that. Next guest. Now, next guest is a young man I've known since he was young. How about that? He and my daughters and several of their friends were in a group called the Young Optimist Club of Detroit. They were the only Young Optimist Club in the state and probably in the nation. Started back in the early 1990s. And I got to tell you how proud I am of all of these young people. They have all gone on to be very successful, be very community oriented. They've done marvelous things. And the young man you're going to listen to right now is one of those young people who was a part of that Optimist Club, Young Detroit Optimist Club. I at that young. And they have done marvelous things. Well, he's done something very special. And I thought about him when I was watching some show that was talking about drones. And I said, people want to know about drones. I had no clue about drones. However, there are lots of folks who do. And he's making sure not only do a lot of people know, but a lot of young people know. We need to get our young people educated and involved in this technology. It is new technology. It's only going to get more technical. And we have someone who knows all about that. This young man, Mr. Darryl Bingham, welcome to the Community Bell Show.
Thank you so much. I greatly appreciate it. And forgive me if I constantly refer to you as Ma Bell. It's kind of hard for me to.
That's what everybody
sometimes
calls me.
call you Edna because you were our second mother. So really appreciate the opportunity to come on.
Well, I'm just so glad you had time to come on and talk about this. So first of all, tell me what you've been doing and how you got into drones.
Well, if you can recall, when we were running the Optimist Club, I was a financial advisor at the time and had been for quite a while. Probably about 17 years ago, I sold my firm and I was sitting around. I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the members of the Optimist Club, my play sister, Andrea Spraggins,
Mm-hmm.
she says, well, why don't you work with children? And I told her, I said, sis, there's no money working with kids. It's like, I'm a capitalist and an economist. There's no money working with kids.
I need to make money.
Yeah, we got to make money. And, being the true social worker that she is,
Mm-hmm.
she challenged me. She said, well, if you can't figure out how to help kids and make money, you're not the man I thought you were. And I was like, I'm
really
being
laid it on
challenged.
you.
Yes. So, thought about some things. And at that time, we were testing around and doing a few things with the school district. The church I was in, we had piloted a program there, which was a financial literacy program. And it was a cognitive applied learning, meaning that the kids would not just learn theoretical work, but they had to put it to practical use. From there, that developed our entree into the school districts, developing cognitive applied learning curriculums. Well, how does financial literacy, which was a natural fit for me because of where I came from, run into me dealing with drones? My business partner, who was one of my best friends from high school, moved back home. And he was a jet engine mechanic in the Air Force. Wound up working, he was one of the first mechanics to work on the C-4 transport plane. And one day he just said, we really got to figure out how to get kids more into aeronautics and aerospace. And I was like, well, I don't know a doggone thing about it, but if you can figure it out, not a problem. The irony of it is that, you have to be careful some of the things you pray for and you wish for, because God will give it to you. And if you don't act upon it, he'll, like any parent, he'll discipline you until you do what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, he does that. He has a way of doing that.
Yes, very much so. Very much so. So we're driving down 8 Mile Road, passing the Light Guard Armory, and we hear this swarm of buzzing bees that we thought that was so loud. And we whipped around. He's like, no, that's not bees. Turn around. We pull up in the driveway over there near the park area, and we saw a lot of young white male millennials flying drones.
Wow.
And the funny part, we hopped out like we were the cops. And we said, what are you doing? And they said, we're flying drones. It's like, in our first question, where are the minorities and where are the women?
Oh,
So they're thinking they're in trouble. And they said, we don't know how to get to them. It's like, well, we can help you.
Oh,
And then they said the natural question, who are you? And they said, we would do educational programs for kids in the school district. They said, do you know how to fly drones? I said, nope. They said, we'll teach you. Well, what we didn't realize is we stumbled across the professional drone racing team for the city of Detroit.
Let me stop you right there. Professional drone racing team for the city of Detroit, and no blacks and no women in it.
No blacks, no women.
Okay, I just tried
and it wasn't
reiterate that.
It was a situation where it was not intentional. It's like a lot of different things. The entry, the barriers to entry. When you talk about the price point and the cost of equipment and things of that nature, a lot of our kids in our community just could not afford it. So that was part of the challenge, but they were more than welcome, more than eager. And they really gave us our start and provided a whole lot of help and support. That year, that was 2015. They taught our kids how to fly. The great thing, the first drones they taught them how to fly were drones that didn't have any programming in them. So our kids really could fly. They were over that controller and they knew how to basically master the controls of the drone and do a great job. From that point, we began to realize, okay, it's great the kids see this as a hobby or just a fun opportunity. But we know coming down the pike is the workforce development opportunities. And we knew the government was going to have to start mapping out the drone highway for flying drones because we knew they were going to start utilizing it as a source for delivery. We were seeing it occurring all over the world with the exception of the United States. And what we found out, it wasn't the exception of the United States. It was actually occurring here, but it was in rural areas.
Okay.
They were delivering prescriptions, packages using drones. We were sitting back saying, okay, well, how do we get our kids to get a foothold in an industry that is not being dominated by anyone right now at this moment? You know, the manufacturing of drones were being dominated, but when we talk about the service providing of it, there was no one dominating that area. And that's where we started launching. So we developed two programs, our drone apprenticeship program and our drone workforce development program. The apprenticeship program targets kids between the ages of 8 to 14. And our whole goal is to get them addicted to drone technology. We utilize all three drones. We know that for the most part, when we say drones, most individuals only think of aerial drones. But you have three different types of drones. You have UGVs, which are unmanned ground drones. You have UUVs, which are unmanned underwater drones. And then you have what we commonly are aware of, the UAVs, the unmanned aerial vehicles. And
are you going to tell me what they are? So I shouldn't even stop.
No.
You're about to tell me what.
So the main thing is, remember, the first part is unmanned. There's not a person in that machine operating it. The last part is just letting you know it's a vehicle. It operates on its own.
And there's a ground drone?
There's a ground drone, there's an aerial drone, and there's underwater.
So what does the ground drone look like?
Ground drone, for instance, our kids have been exposed to it, Lego robotics. Okay. And all the robotics competitions that they're involved in. We take it a step further because we get into an area that we know the kids would really like, which is the racing part of it. So they're building autonomous moving vehicles that they can race, and the kids really we're seeing a growth and an interest in an area which should always be here in this area because we're the automotive capital.
Absolutely.
But we're seeing it being revitalized with this generation of younger kids where they want to get involved and they're beginning to understand. Now,
didn't you just have a race recently?
We did.
Talk about that one.
We had a race this past Saturday at Ferndale Middle School. Ferndale Public School District is a partner of ours. We operate in their upper elementary, their middle school, Ferndale High School, and University High School in Ferndale. And the M1 Sprint Cup Grand Prix Series. We had this year, we decided to label all of our races based upon the work that Judge Augustus Woodward did when he laid out the spoke road system here in Detroit based upon the concepts he learned from looking at what Benjamin Banneker did back in DC. And from there, all of our races are named after the various roads on that spoke, from 4th Street to, we have the M1, which we all know is Woodward Avenue, the first paved road in the United States. We have the Gratiot Gateway, which pays respect to Gratiot Avenue. We have the Jefferson Avenue Grand Prix. And then we have our 2 endurance races. The Grand River Avenue, which I believe is US 16, I believe. Maybe wrong, maybe US 16 or US 12 endurance race. Most of us don't realize Grand River starts in downtown Detroit and runs all the way to the car ferry port in Muskegon, Michigan.
Yes, yes.
So it is a road that is in our state that runs right across our whole state. And then when you talk about the longest road in our state that goes across the United States, we're talking about Michigan Avenue. Starts in downtown Detroit.
Amazing.
Yes.
And just
runs all the way to Aberdeen, Washington. Okay. And yeah, it picks up different new names as it crosses over in various states, but most individuals aren't even aware that it goes all the way to Aberdeen, Washington. So we did that because it gave us an opportunity to actually teach a little bit of Detroit history to our kids and understand the significance of the contribution that our city has provided this great country of ours.
And that is such an important piece. And that's one piece that I would like us all to get a lot more involved with. And that is teaching our young kids history of the city they live in.
Yes.
And whatever city that is, it doesn't matter whatever the city is you live in, that ought to be taught in the high schools in your city. Or there ought to be some way to incorporate that into the history classes or civic classes, history, wherever you put it. But there ought to be some history of what happens in your city. For instance, Obama Jacket, Ted Talbot, the things that he did. Those things ought to be somehow in our school district. So kids know when they go to another city, they go off to college, they can at least tell people what happened in their own city. And oftentimes they don't know the history of their own city. And we need to find some ways to incorporate that into our curriculum. So just a piece. This is what happened in your city. This is who is in your city. This is where they came from. This is what they did. This is when they did it.
No. It's funny because you would mention that the whole premise of a lot of things that I do, you don't understand the impact that you've had on our lives. But I remember one time listening to you speak, and you made a statement from Whence Come You. And it's funny, people don't speak in that manner. But I understood from Whence Come You, what it meant was basically, do you know where you come from? And in understanding that, I understand it's important that our young people are able to identify where they come from and the greatness that they come from so that they can see themselves walking in that greatness. And that is so critical. Think about it. We're the automotive capital. So we think about the automotive side. We don't think about all of the technology that was created. So we talk about really an area that was Silicon Valley before Silicon Valley existed.
Assembly lines didn't exist before autos.
That's process engineering.
Assembly lines, everything you buy comes off an assembly line from somewhere.
Yes, exactly. It's funny because, we talk about, the processes and the concepts of how you take a product from beginning to end stage. A lot of that originated here. So we take it for granted, but you have to embed that in kids at a young age so that they understand it's an expectation that you walk in greatness because you come from a community of greatness, regardless of your background. You come from a community of greatness and you come from a community where everyone contributed and everyone respected the contribution.
Yes. That piece is so important. When you talked about Michigan going all the way
to Aberdeen, Washington. Yes.
They don't think about that.
Yes.
Look where you live and look what starts with you.
What starts with you.
It starts with you. It starts with you. Okay, go ahead. I have to interrupt.
So no, not a problem. So, we talked about the drone apprenticeship program, which targets 8 to 14. What happens when a kid becomes 14 years of age? We don't want to leave them. We want to keep them growing. So we created the Drone Workforce Apprenticeship Program, which is we've taught you the skills of flying. And what the kids don't realize is the skill level that we taught them was to teach them how drones are flown in workforce situations. So when they're flying a drone, they're flying it in a skill challenge race, and it's really based upon how the drone is going to be used in a workforce situation. So what we're doing is we're enhancing the skill set that they're going to need in order to make sure that they're useful out there in a workforce situation. Well, when they turn 14, we say, okay, now it's time for you to start working. You got to contribute, you got to test what you've learned theoretically, and you got to test what you've learned in your practicum and put it to good use and monetize it.
Mm-hmm.
So if the kids are interested at age 16, our kids, we will get them involved in a licensing prep course, and we will pay for them to get licensed, their FAA 107 license.
Oh,
Okay.
wow. Now that's big.
Yes, it's real huge.
That's
It's real huge.
big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that is the stage where they can start charging for the services that they provide in that area,
Mm-hmm.
and most of us, a lot of times, we like to take it to, we as adults like to take it to the most extreme levels, like, hey, you can work for this company, you can do this, and you can do that.
How about own
Let's
your
keep it
own?
real basic for the kids,
Yeah.
because the kids can tell you, while you have these grandiose dreams for me, how about I just fly the drone and shoot videos for,
Have fun for now.
prom send off or something like that. And it's funny. I'll tell you a quick story. We have a young man who is in college right now. And right when the pandemic hit,
Mm-hmm.
we had a huge issue. I was coaching high school football out at West Bloomfield High School at the time. And we've been blessed to become a little regional powerhouse for producing athletes. But there's one problem when the pandemic hit. College coaches wouldn't come visit our kids
Mm-hmm.
because they didn't want to get infected
Mm-hmm.
and bring that back to their teams, and their
Mhm.
teams get eliminated from being able to play.
Sure.
So
Wow.
what did we do? We started producing our own videos on all the kids. Well, that young man
Mm.
will go out there and not only shoot with his camera, but also shoot with the drone and get footage on the kids that the college coaches were greatly appreciative of.
Mm.
And as a
Okay.
result, it helped us out in the recruiting process during that very troubling time period. Well, from there, other athletes saw what we were doing and they started hiring him.
How about
As
that?
a senior in high school, the kid made $40,000 in revenue.
Wow.
So now you can see, you can have a kid who can earn, dollars equivalent to that of an adult out there in the place,
Mm.
and he's doing nothing more than what he loves.
That's the piece.
Yes,
He's doing what he loves doing. That's why he does it well
Yes.
and enjoys doing it.
correct.
It isn't work for him.
Yeah.
He's enjoying it. Wow.
So on the workforce development side, we go from age 14 to 24. So we are in alignment with workforce development
Mhm.
dollars that come out of the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act. And the kids can get licensed. In addition to that, there are other certifications and licenses they can get. For instance, we work with the Minority Contractors Association. They do a blueprint reading class for us. Why is that important? Well, if you're flying a drone and you're doing progression mapping of a construction project, you need to understand what you're looking at.
Mhm.
Well, if you can't read a blueprint, you have no clue what's going on with
Yes.
that project.
Wow.
So that helps out a great deal. They can get their OSHA 30 certification with us.
What's that?
OSHA 30 deals. So for OSHA,
Okay.
they need their OSHA 30 to walk on any type of construction site.
Okay. Okay.
You know,
So,
For a long time, the school districts would help the kids have access to getting an OSHA 10. And an OSHA 10 is the basic level certification, your occupational safety hazard certification that they can earn. OSHA 30 is a lot more detailed.
okay.
30 hours of training. So we're putting them in a position that when they walk up to a company and they're seeking employment, they can say all of the entry level items that you're looking for a young person to have, we've already got that knocked out. So you don't have to spend a whole year getting us trained, getting us certified in these areas, or that journeyman process,
Mhm.
of dollars that they would put out. We've wiped that barrier out, not only for the
The
kid,
employees
but for
love
the
it.
employer also.
Oh, yeah, the
Yes, for the
employers
employer
love
also.
that.
We recognize the fact that, a large part of what we do is teaching the kids how to think.
Mm-hmm.
So our kids, they go through a certification for process improvement called Lean Six Sigma. And Lean Six Sigma is a standard that's used in a wide variety of industries. It started out in the engineering industry with Motorola,
Mm-hmm.
but it has crossed over. You see it in healthcare. Our city of Detroit is a Lean Six Sigma city. You have many of their employees who are Lean Six Sigma certified. Our kids come out white, yellow, and they can go to the green belt level if they want to, because there
Wow.
is a lot more demand at the green belt level where they have to show proof that they can work on a project and implement the things.
Mhm.
So, we try
And they
and remove,
haven't had to spend a day or in college.
haven't had to
Have
spend a
they-
day in
and
college.
spend all that money that
Exactly.
it takes to go to college.
Exactly.
Parents Listen to this,
Yeah.
parents.
Yeah.
Listen.
So, we try and eliminate barriers. One of the things that I had to come to grips with whenever you work with young people, you have to acclimate yourself to what that means. You become the extended family. So it's not uncommon for me on any given day to have 5 kids in my car. We're driving around because I got to pick them up and bring them to class and things and drop them off afterwards. Yes. It comes with the territory. I accept
and
it.
make sure that they're dressed appropriately.
Make
for
sure
the
they're dressed
environment, too. That's the other piece.
We've had a group of kids who were doing it. As a matter of fact, they were doing a film project down at Shop Suntop, which is a retail boutique down in Eastern Market area.
Boutique.
Oh yes, love it. Shout out to the Washington family.
Yes.
But we wanted to make sure that they looked appropriate, so we got the owner to donate some clothing for their Why Night Detroit brand, so that the kids would feel comfortable. They were filming a fashion show that was down there this past weekend. So it's great. And the one thing that's hard, we come from a generation that our learning process, as it pertains to formalized education that could be monetized, was very traditional. We were taught, go to high school, get good grades, go to college, get good grades. It's going to result in employment opportunities. This generation, they're not like us, as the song says.
No, they are not. They don't know.
They are different.
I look at my grandkids now and I think, okay. Okay, that's what it is.
Yes.
That's what it is. But,
the opportunities for them are far greater, and the ability to create monetary situations at an earlier age are there for them. What they may be lacking is some of the soft skills.
Yes.
They may be lacking a few small technical skills, such as record keeping and things of that nature. But those are things we can teach them. So, I say that to say, as parents, if you are open to your child exploring and understanding, what drone technology has to offer, I'm not going to sit here and say that I want to turn your child into a drone pilot. That's their choice. That's their decision. My own daughter will sit back and tell you the 2 things that were that put money on the table and that I'm passionate about. She hates. She hates football. I'm a football coach. And she didn't like flying drones.
Wow. How about that?
But she found her passion for what she wanted to study in college through drones. Because the one thing that she did love about drones, she loved the programming aspect. Okay. And one of the things that my daughter was able to piece together, now, this is when you talk about things clicking. Real quick story. Driving up to Northwood Institute, gentleman Rob Jameson, he was the former CEO of Detroit PAL, but he's also a trustee at Northwood University. And he's coming up to have me talk to the directors of Dow Chemical, as well as the administrative staff of Northwood University. And he wants to talk about us doing a collaboration between our programs and the university and Dow. And we're driving up and he hears my daughter in the background. He's like, "Oh, you got Chelsea with you?" I was like, "Yeah." He said, "You just got traded. I want her to talk. I don't want you to talk." So right on the spot in the car, as I'm driving in the middle of Michigan,
to figure out,
she's like, what does he mean? And I said, well, you know what? Now you got to step up to the plate. Everything that you've been trained, they want you to express that and express competency of what you understand. And it went extremely well. She sat back and, she explained to the directors at Dow everything that was going on in the program. She explained to them that, she was competent in the area of Lean Six Sigma. Like anyone else, they challenged her. They don't know my daughter. She pushed back and she broke down one of the major things you learn in Lean Six Sigma is DMAIC: define, measure, analyze, improve, control. She broke it down for them, helped them explain. She helped them explain, and this is where you sit back and don't realize that your kids are paying attention to you.
Yes.
She said, well, my daddy runs a play in football, and he calls it DMAIC, but you may know it as an RPO. They're like, an RPO? Yeah, run pass option. She said, it's the same concept as DMAIC. You got to understand the parallel there.
And they're looking at her like,
they're looking at her
"What?"
like, what? But it's showing the competency that she had.
And that she was watching and you didn't even know.
Didn't have a clue. Didn't have a clue. Coming from the kid who hates football.
Yeah.
You know? But yeah. But I was so proud of her. I had to walk out of the meeting because tears just running down my face.
I can imagine.
Tears just running down my face.
You know, Alicia did her internship when she was at Florida A&M at Dow.
At Dow Chemical, yeah.
But that is incredible. Children will amaze you.
Yes.
At the moment when you least are thinking of it.
When you least expect it.
Least expected it. And when they show out, show out.
And all you say is, praise God, something stuck up there.
Yes.
You know, I just wasn't preaching all this time. It's stuck up there.
Thank you. She was listening, and I didn't even know.
Didn't even know.
And was able to give it back to someone in a way to help them understand what she was talking about. I love it. I know, and they're just sitting there looking at her like, "What?
Yep.
What? Listen to her."
Oh, you quickly go from a formal meeting where you have the pomp and circumstance in that meeting to that's my baby. You know? Yes. So it was a great feeling. Yeah, it was a great feeling. It was a great feeling.
Love it. Wow. Now you talked about the ground drones.
Yes.
And what was the other one? The water
the underwater drones. Yep, Dory. Yep. So let's start with the ground drones. So the cars that the kids are racing. There's a toy company out of Japan called Tamiya, and Tamiya makes these autonomous cars that run on a track. The kids love it because they're learning basic concepts of mechanical engineering. And once they build the car, what they begin to realize is, you know, in order to improve its performance, it's me as the individual and what I did in the process that's going to make the difference in the performance of this vehicle. We had about 150 kids this past Saturday. Our three winners, they did an excellent job of their own engineering and the improvement and performance of their car.
Wow.
And the thing that set them aside was they began to understand it's my car versus the track, not my car versus the other cars, which means it's how well I am modifying and adjusting my car to the track layout, because they don't have a clue of what the track layout is until they get there.
Wow.
So they'll run their car on the track. Sometimes they'll realize that they've done so many modifications on their car, the car's too fast and it jumps off the track. These cars, they go about 17 to 18 miles an hour, but they can adjust it and modify it and do a process called breaking in the motor, which cleans the motor, where they can get the car to run as fast as 35 to 40 miles an hour.
And they're in a gym when they're doing this?
We did it in the gym. We did it in the gym.
Yeah.
So our March 1st race is our US, like I said, I can't remember whether it's US 12 or US 16 endurance race down at Detroit PAL. And we'll be in their ballroom. And at that race, we typically run 3 tracks. We'll only run 2 because it's an endurance race. So it's paying homage to how long Michigan Avenue is and how far it runs. It's going to be one of the longest tracks that they ever race on. So now you're dealing with the issue of power source. How long does the power source last in my car to make it around this track? We're dealing with the issue of all the curves and turns. Do I have any hills that I have to jump over? All these different issues that come with the unique landscape of the track that we're setting up for them.
Wow.
And they have to make the adjustments for the performance of their car.
Wow. That's
the fun part of it all. It's we create little engineers without telling them all the time that you're an engineer. Yeah. We're just telling them
you're having fun.
Make it go faster around the track, but keep the car on the track. And when you keep it simple for them, they keep it simple. In that process, then, we kind of reverse engineer from the standpoint of, we put the practicum first and then back into theory. But they begin to realize and begin to understand, I've got to do this. If I do this, this is how my car is performing. The greatest thing about the Tamiya series that we have is it forces kids who are highly distracted because of technology, can't focus on everything, to have to pay attention to small details.
Yes, and that makes a difference.
It makes a huge
these
difference.
Phones and these games, and that's what they do.
Yes.
But this makes them concentrate on.
They have to concentrate and pay attention to all the small details in order to make the modifications to improve the performance. The underwater drones. This is our first year of doing it. We bought 3 underwater drones that are affectionately called Dories, and we're going to put them. We're going to take them out to Belle Isle,
Okay.
and when the spring hits, when the weather thaws out, and we're going to put them up under the Detroit River and take a look. And we have a camera that's on the remote control, and there's a tether connected to it, and they'll be able to see what's up under the Detroit River.
Wow.
Prayerfully.
Wow, there's a lot.
Nothing too interesting.
Yeah. Wow.
But yeah,
that's gonna be fun.
and and it's funny. It's just if you think about a kid growing up in a city, what kid sits back, growing up in a city, says, "I want to consider a profession that is off the water in whatever I'm doing." They don't. They don't, because you're in an urban jungle, and you're like, "I do what we do in the urban jungle," which is we're not doing anything off water. This is now exposing them to opportunities for careers in that area, or at least awareness of what's out there.
And should have been done a long time
A
ago.
long time ago.
A lot we have around us.
Yes. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So, our main thing is, people try and label us, your drone program, your tech program, you're this. We are a program that's designed to introduce kids to opportunities and remove barriers for entry into those opportunities. The byproduct of it right now is just we're using drone technology, but we will evolve and change as times change. So when the necessity comes around for us to evolve and change, we will evolve to what that next item will be.
Wow, that sounds great. That is wonderful. Let's talk about the drone, the ones that people think of, things that are flying
aerial
in the air.
drones, yes.
The aerial drones. That's
Yes.
what everybody thinks about is
Yes.
drone. They didn't think about the ground drones or the
Yes.
water drones. All they think about is the things they see flying around in the air.
Which is the irony of it all. So first of all, one of the things we take for granted, we're across from another country. We sit on an international waterway. Every time I'm down at Shane Park and I'm seeing people down there flying drones, or I'm on Belle Isle and I see people flying drones, they don't understand the backside of our island sits in an international waterway. You are now in international airspace. And I guarantee you most of them don't have a license.
Don't have a clue. Don't have a
Don't
clue.
have a
They
clue.
don't think about where they are.
Not at all. Not at all. So we want to make sure our kids are not only getting the skill set of how to fly, but the safety measures, and they begin to understand the laws. Because you violate one of those FAA laws, I guarantee you, they know how to find you. It's very easy to find you. Yeah, I'm serious. To trace and track the user of that drone, it's a lot easier than what people think.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, of course, I guess they've got cameras or videos or whatever technology they use to track things.
Classic example. So the drones that we train the kids on, the DJI Mini 2s, you use your phone as your viewing screen.
Okay.
So your
there
phone
it is.
connects into the controller, right, which is transmitting a signal. Well, guess what? It's easy to find you.
Yeah, man, the signal is.
I don't have to just come out there on the island right away.
I can come to
I
your
got
house.
your signature. I come straight to your house.
Come to
No problem.
Wherever you are, I can
Yes.
find you. Wow.
Yes.
And I bet they don't think about that.
They don't think about that. Not at all.
People don't even
Not at
think
all.
about that. Wow.
Yeah. And you sit back and you think about the fact of where they're flying. I had to when we first started the program, Detroit PAL was so gracious in allowing us to operate during COVID down there, and we had to respect the measures of delivering content down there. But they were one of the first organizations that said, you know what, our kids are going crazy being locked down because of COVID. We've got to figure out a way to provide some programming to them that they find interesting and fun, and allow them to get out and breathe and live again. So they were one of the first organizations that allowed us to do that, and we're so thankful for them. But they're off Michigan Avenue.
Yes.
You're down the street from a couple of federal buildings. They're bordered by a highway, expressway.
And a mile or two down the road is another country.
Yep. and you got all this restricted airspace that's around there.
That's right.
So it was one of the biggest challenges was trying to tame my group of rambunctious,
They want to
young
fly
people,
everywhere.
exactly, who have been on lockdown because of COVID, and to get them to realize we can't just fly this drone up and down Michigan Avenue the way, because we're going past the IRS building, we're going past the McNamara building.
Yeah.
Guess what? That's restricted airspace. Yeah.
They watch. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, wow. How about that?
And
And
then
the police department's right down there,
right down
the
there,
street.
exactly. Casinos, all this
Yeah.
protected airspace. So the funny part is when Michigan Central's going up, they're teenagers. Their natural thing is, hey, let's put the drone up over the construction site and see what's going on.
Oh.
I'm like, let's not.
Please don't do that.
So it was a fun and interesting time, but that curiosity that came, I think we have maybe from that time period to date, we have at least 7 kids who are either in college studying about drones or considering going to college to study about that.
That's
so
fantastic.
I'm thankful for that. Yes.
Oh, I am so glad you were able to come on the show to talk about this. You know, I got to have you back because there's still lots
Please,
more.
please,
There's
please.
still that's more we need to talk about with drones
Yes,
and
yes,
children.
yes.
And sometimes you want to bring one of the kids, you can.
If you're ready for them, okay.
Well,
Okay. But yeah.
I'll leave that to you.
Yes.
Thank you so much,
No,
Darryl.
thank you.
And this has been a pleasure. Audience, you have got information that you probably would never have thought you were going to get, right? You just never thought. You always talk about drones flying in the air. Well, here's the man who knows how to teach folks how to do that. We want to bring you more programming of this sort, information about what's going on with our children and what's going on in the world that they're going to know, which is different than our world. And we need to try to keep up. Now, I'm trying to keep up. Difficult, but we need to continue to bring this information to you. Darryl Bingham, thank you so much for joining
Thank
us
you,
on the
Bell.
Community Bell
Appreciate
Show.
everything.
We'll have you back to talk more
Please.
about
Would
drones
love
because
to.
there's still so much more I want
Would
to
love
talk
to.
about, especially the ones when you get out to Belle Isle and do the underwater. That one's going to be wonderful.
So
Wonderful.
when you met me, well, you know my parents my
Mhm.
whole life, but when you met me, I had hair and I didn't have gray.
Well,
And I was a lot thinner. And now, life has taken over. But you couldn't have told me that, I would, first of all, be working in this space with kids. And then 2, that I'm learning probably more from them
and
than what
that's
they're
usually
learning
the
from
way
me.
it is. That's usually the way it is.
They are opening my eyes to the learning that we got was so compartmentalized.
Mhm.
And the learning that they get is cross-curricular. Yes.
I
So
love
they
it. I
think in a whole different manner. And I'm thankful for that. And so
Absolutely.
thankful for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Okay, folks, we'll see you next Monday at 4:00. But look forward to seeing Darryl again sometime in the next couple of months to talk more about drones. Thank you so much for joining the Community Bell Show. Have a happy week. We'll see you next Monday at 4:00.
Thank you for listening to Community Bell with your host, former Wayne County Commissioner Edna Bell. This broadcast was brought to you by WVTC Radio Detroit. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, our website, www.wvtcradio.com, or download our WVTC app from the Play Store for Android users and the App Store for iPhone users. If you've enjoyed this broadcast, tell a friend to tune in. We'll see you next Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern to the Community Bell Show, right here on WVTC Radio Detroit.
Go to your Apple or Google Play Store and download the WVTC Gospel Radio app today. You can also say, Alexa, play WVTC Radio Skills.
Would you like to play WVTC Radio Network?
Absolutely. Download it today.
You're listening to WVTC Gospel Radio Detroit, and we're flowing in the Spirit.